got mail. Good morning, everybody. You're tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next hour or any part of, along with Katie.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. And because it's Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day, everybody. Um, Gal is with his wife and visiting their son in Fayetteville. Uh, Nick is traveling. Spence is still in Alaska. So it's Katie and I.
Yep.
But we'll probably cut it short so everybody can get to their Mother's Day plans. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Everybody call your moms.
yep. Our number is 561-518-9773. Computers to no, shoot. This is becoming embedded in there. There's no computers 2K voice. Today's show is made possible by vMix Software and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. It's going to be hard to get rid of that Skype stuff.
Mm. You mean saying it or actually
Saying
getting
it,
rid of the
saying
Skype?
it. No,
Yeah.
I mean, there's not.
Well, it's muscle memory. You had to
It's just like
train.
I'm what?
I said it's muscle memory. You just got to train your brain and mouth not to say it.
Exactly. You have to. But yeah, it's just like many times when we sign off. I said we'll be back here next Sunday at 8. It's because for so many years it was starting at 8. So every now and then I catch myself.
Uh huh. That's like the stories I read of people in the professional workplace. They'll sign off their phone and they'll be like, "Okay, bye, love you," and then they hang up and they're like, "Oh my god." And I read a story where the woman did it to a customer or client or whatever, and she sent an email and was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." And the client responded and was like, "No, it's okay. It's actually really endearing because it shows that you have so much love in your life that you automatically just say it. So it's nice."
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice that somebody can appreciate such, what do you call them?
I don't know.
Bloopers? Bloopers.
Oh,
Okay.
bloopers. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Did you ever take your laptop and go out to a local place to actually do work?
Mm,
You
I know
know,
I've done it once or twice, and it wasn't because I personally don't. I get overstimulated, so trying to go to a coffee shop in quote unquote work doesn't work for me. But I know that I've been some places, like usually I have my like I'll be traveling for work or something, and I'll be in the airport, and they'll be like, "Oh, we need this thing," and I've done it there. But I don't purposely seek out like an e-cafe or whatever to work. I don't know how people work like that, honestly.
well, numerous coffee establishments across the US are actively restricting internet access and laptop use as they push back against remote workers monopolizing their spaces for hours.
Oh, well, yeah, that's reasonable. Because then
It is
people don't
reasonable. That
people don't buy anything.
Yeah, I mean, even if they buy, what do they buy? Cup of coffee.
Yeah, yeah,
But they're saying that like they're some of them restricting it to 1.5 hours.
which is
Uh,
reasonable. Because
it's very reasonable.
people will sit there for 3 hours
Yep.
and buy a $5 cup of coffee.
Right.
This is why internet cafes are a thing in Asia and stuff. Uh, Granted, I've never been to one. All I know is what I see on the internet. But my understanding is they pay to use the internet, and whatever it is, they like rent the space and do it. So I think I think it's reasonable to set up a system where it's like, okay, your first hour is quote unquote free with your drink, but then after that, you need to pay like $3 an hour or whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't know if they're actually running out of chairs
Well,
when.
usually those places are small. Like, even if you go to Starbucks, okay, granted, this is all based on local Starbucks around me.
Yeah.
They do have seats, but it's generally not a lot of room, and there's a lot more traffic that come into Starbucks. That like a lot of people want to come in and out, and then maybe mom and pop coffee shops are even smaller. So if like Starbucks and Dunkin's are like the biggest around, uh, then I could see smaller places just having even more of an issue.
Yeah, smaller places would. But it's a double-edged sword. You're trying to attract people to come in and use your facility, and at the same time, you're stopping them. But I can see why they do it.
Yeah. Well, I
Okay.
mean, you can just put a reasonable cap on it.
Yep. Yeah.
Like anything. And like most restaurants, like when you go to a restaurant and you sit at a table, if you stay there for too long, eventually the waitress is going to be like, "Is there anything I can do to like generally they politely ask you to leave essentially because they want to turn over that table to make money." So, I mean, you go to places and there's a service and you sit there for a certain amount of time, and then if you're not buying anything else, they generally ask you to politely leave. Unless it's like unless it's something that, like, I don't know, there's, like, an open space or whatever, then it's not as big of a deal, but generally, when each table brings them income, depending on the people that are sitting there, if
I
somebody makes one person and just sits there for hours, then they're losing out on money.
Yep. Yep. Um, NVIDIA founder and CEO has served up another blunt take on the job market as AI permeates society. He says, "You will not lose your job to AI, but you will lose it to someone who uses AI."
Mm, yep.
Uh, he said it at the Milken Institute conference, and he added, "I recommend 100% take advantage of AI. Don't be that person." And it's true. I mean, AI can do a lot, but it cannot do everything. You
No,
do
but
need the human.
it is taking AI is taking jobs.
Oh yeah,
But it's again, this has happened throughout the centuries of modernization where you used to have 100 people that did one task, and then the new technology came along, and now only 50 people does that one task,
right.
and then something new came along, now only 20, and then something new came along, now only one. So technically, yes, you missed out on those 99 jobs because they were taken over by that new technology, but you still technically have a job.
I mean, I remember the same thing, same kind of talk going on back in the mid 80s, early to mid 80s, when personal computers came into place. And a lot of people were saying, "Oh, computers are going to take jobs away." Well, computers are not going to take jobs away. I mean, people became more productive, and actually, there were more people added to a lot of companies because of computers.
Mm. Efficiency. It's all
Efficiency.
about
Yep, it's
efficiency.
all about efficiency.
So, like, if a now this can swing both ways. So a company could try to implement a new technology, fail spectacularly, and then those jobs are out, or they could figure out how to capitalize on it and become more efficient. And when a business is more efficient, usually that means they're growing, and therefore they can hire more people. I think it's complicated. It's a complicated ecosystem than just a blanket AI is replacing jobs or more jobs are being made because of AI. It's like it's a fluid thing.
Yeah,
And this is
it
why
is.
people get degrees in economics and all that crap. Meanwhile, we're sitting here with our coffees and we're like, "Yeah, AI took our jobs."
And OpenAI has decided that its nonprofit division will retain control over its for-profit organization after the company initially announced that it planned to convert to a nonprofit organization. So they're
Uh,
they're going to kind of stay the same and to get best of both worlds.
yeah, this is some like legal mumbo jumbo. Like I
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, I
Uh,
will say though, I was using OpenAI the other day,
yeah.
and I asked it to um, or I was using ChatGPT, and I asked it to make an image for me, and I was like, "Hey, I need reference for this. Make this image." And it was going through the process because it won't just or currently, it doesn't just spit out the image when it's done. It kind of makes like a shadow box and then it slowly fills in the image. So it's filling in the image and I could see it was like maybe, I don't know, 90% there. And then all of a sudden it deleted the image and it said, "We cannot do this because of copyright reasons." And I was like, "Oh, okay." But
Because
I
of
just thought
what reason?
copyright
Oh,
copyright reasons. And I
yeah.
was like, "Oh, okay." But it was just funny that the AI was basically almost done with the image and I could see it. Like I could see part like I don't like I said 90% of it. And then whatever failsafe they have, they just took it down. And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah. Interesting.
yeah, it was funny." So they I don't know what they have for their copyright failsafe stuff, but they don't check it beforehand. They check it after they're almost done with the image, which was interesting.
Hmm. I thought about it. Yeah. Um, Microsoft has officially begun rejecting high volume emails that don't meet its new authentication rules. It says here's the deal: if you send more than 5,000 messages per day
Oh my
to
god.
Outlook.com addresses, including Hotmail.com and Live.com, and you're not probably set up with SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, your emails may never arrive.
Good. I'm
Uh,
assuming that
Absolutely good.
spam.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
Um, that's remind me about Hannah came this week and she was all kind of huffing and puffing. She said, "Dad, I don't understand IT people. They don't understand things." I said, "What? What's the matter?" She said, "I had a problem with my email and I was talking to our IT guy and try and find out why it took days for a message from a local business to come to me. And he was trying to find out, and she told him, she said, they were kind of talking back and forth, and she said, I'm sure they have their SPF record in there." And she said that IT person turned to her and said, "What does SPF have to do with the email? What is that? I thought that was something for the skin that you put on for the sun."
Yeah, I was about to say, is that UV protection?
Can you imagine an IT person talking about email and you bring SPF and they don't know what it is?
I don't know what it is.
That is ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing though. Uh Anybody can say they're an IT person
Yeah.
and apply for any kind of IT jobs.
Right.
It could be the owner's son or something or whatever. It's up to the company to vet and
Right.
actually pick qualified people.
Yep.
And so I don't want to say all IT people are like
No,
that
no,
because
no.
The ones I
Absolutely.
deal with
Yeah.
are always fix my computer magically. It's like wizardry. But yeah, that's unfortunate. What is SPF for emails?
What is
Yeah, yeah, what is it?
SPFs authorizes the oh, what it stands for? I don't know.
No, what is it?
It authorizes whoever when you have a domain, it authorizes your provider to send email as you, because when you're sending an email through Delta Force, it's not you that's sending it. Actually, it's Delta Force server that sends it
Mhm.
for you.
Oh.
So as a default, it's uh you add Delta Force to the SPF record in the DNS in the name
Mhm.
server. But also, I mean, people that let's say do, and I can't remember the name of those services that sends bulk mail. There are different ones. I mean, when you constant contact, when you want to send mail to 30,000, 40,000 people, your server will not do it. You have to go through a service that does it.
Mm.
Otherwise, most of these emails will be bounced back to you, and your provider will get pissed at you and cancel your account. So when Constant Contact sends those emails, the receiving uh, side server looks at the email and says, "Okay, this is coming from katiejones.com." But actually, the one who's sending it is Constant Contact. They look in the SPF record and they see there is no constant contact. That must be spam, because you can send as anybody. The problem is being being received on the other end. So I can, or not me, but somebody at your work can send an email and put the from as Donald Trump at whitehouse.gov. You can
Mm.
do that. Nothing stops you. You go into your Outlook and you change who it's from. But the other end will look and say, well, this organization, because the organization name is in there also, who is the actual server. So they don't have the right to send. So no, we don't accept. So that's what happens with SPF. It you give instructions, not instruct permissions to other domains to send that email to your
Mm.
your people, your
Yeah, that
contacts.
sounds like something that an IT person should
Yeah,
know.
and then there's the DKIM, which is something a little bit more complicated to set up. And the DMARC look at looks at them and say, this is legit. So if you don't have an SPF record, first of all, if you don't have one, chances are m- many and growing uh, providers will not accept mail from you anywhere you look. That's if you have your own domain. Remember, if you are Gmail, you don't need to worry about it. If you're Hotmail and all those other services, you don't need to worry about it.
Mm.
But if you have your own domain, you decide to do which is a smart thing to do, then you have to worry about it and have it set up. So yes, so SPF when it comes to internet has nothing to do with your tan or with the sun, UV.
I don't know, you don't want SPF 100 on your emails?
No,
Protect it.
that was really interesting that somebody would say that. All right. Um, Do you have a Roku TV?
Not a TV. I have a Roku attached to my.
Box.
Yes.
Okay. Says an update to Roku OS has resulted in colors looking washed out in HDR content viewed on Roku apps like Disney Plus,
Mm,
and
that's just a setting.
it's not a setting. It's an update that
No, I
actually.
know. I'm just thinking about
Oh,
fixing for them. They just have to go in and
yeah, right.
make sure that the colors they're not using like CMYK colors.
It said complaints started surfacing on Roku's community forums a week ago on May 1st. A company representative posted that Roku was investigating the Disney Plus HDR content that was washed out after the recent update.
Interesting.
However, huh?
Nothing. Keep going. Sorry.
However, based on user feedback, it seems that HDR on additional Roku apps, including Apple TV Plus and Netflix, are also affected. Roku's representative has been asking users to share their experiences so that Roku can dig deeper into the problem. Um, Interesting,
That I will say I'm not technical by any means. I have run into something similar with my videos when I render them. Um, when you render out a video, you can select its color profile,
right?
and the color profile I don't even know. It's like how the pixels interact with this, that, and other thing. Like I said, I'm not technical,
Yeah.
and generally the basic settings or like already have it set where I don't have to change anything. However, I did get a project from somebody else who, when I rendered the video out, even though it looked good in the program I was editing with, it rendered out with washed out colors. And I was trying to figure out what the heck is going on because, again, I'm not technical. I don't ever mess with the settings. And then I found out it was the color profile that I had to set in the editing software. So for whatever reason, this other person like changed the color settings, and when it rendered out fine for them. But then on my computer, when I rendered it out, it didn't render out okay.
Mhm.
So I don't know if it's the video themselves, because what I imagine happens is, well, all of the content online gets rendered out from some kind of software. Uh if it's maybe the actual video file color profile, or what probably it is, it's probably when Roku did the update, since it was fine beforehand, whatever video display program they have that plays the files or whatever, the color profile on that must have changed.
Right.
And if not everybody is seeing it, then that means that again, I'm just guessing that it probably means that the specific model of TV or the specific other variables are affecting it, and for whatever reason the Roku program is misinterpreting that data to be like, "Oh, they wanna see this," and but it's not using the right color profile. Um,
No.
that's my layman's man overview of what I think is happening.
Yeah. I don't understand these things, but
You know what's interesting is, so I learned, so what I'll work in Photoshop, and Photoshop will have a color profile on there, like how like what kind of colors the pixels use, I guess. And when I screenshot the picture, to share it with somebody, not save it out, screenshot it, the colors will look duller. And I was like, why? I don't understand. Like it looks vibrant in Photoshop, and then when I screenshot it and like post it somewhere else, all the colors would look duller. And it turned out because when you screenshot something, uh, it's using the monitor's color profile and its interpretation out of Photoshop.
oh,
And my Photoshop wasn't set for my monitor's color profile, which is which I don't which blows my mind because I trying to figure this out because because in Photoshop, it's displaying the right colors.
Mhm.
But when the computer takes a screenshot, I guess the computer's monitor color settings, it is doesn't work with the Photoshop colors, so the colors come out duller. It all this to say, it's all complicated and it's all frustrating, and it took me forever to figure out why that was because you just type in like, "Oh, colors aren't right," and then people are like, "Oh, well, just use the right colors." I was like, "No, that's not how this works. That's not the problem." The problem is the communication between the softwares, and then I finally found, like, some, uh, comment thread from somebody forever ago that was like, "Oh, my monitor is not seeing the right colors." I was like, "Okay." They're having that
Yeah.
same problem with Roku.
For the regular users, I mean, you probably are not gonna see this. It's very select people. I mean, look, if on the Roku, if you're watching something and it's washed out, that's bad. But what you're talking about is something that professionals will see. Because, like you said, you send the video out, it's okay. But
Well, I assume it's okay, and then they
no,
start playing it, and then it's like, "Hey, why is this
no.
not right?" I'm like, "Oh,
Now,
you're
when
right."
you were in school, you had a Chromebook.
No.
You didn't? What did you
No.
have?
I'm too old. I had a Chromebook. I got my first one in 2014.
Oh,
Yeah. I got it specifically so I could watch Game of Thrones.
okay. Well, schools across the U.S. are warning parents about an internet trend that has students purposeful pur- purposefully trying to damage their school issued Chromebooks so that they start smoking or catch fire.
This is CDs all over again. Because when I was a kid, um, AOL used to send CDs in
Yeah,
the mail,
right.
and we would take the CDs and put them in the microwave because they would pop like little
Well,
fireworks.
yeah, but
That's like this.
that's different. Various school districts, including some in Colorado, New Jersey, North Carolina, and Washington, have sent letters to parents warning about a trend that's largely taken off on TikTok. Per reports from school district and videos that Ars Technica has reviewed online, the so-called Chromebook challenge includes students sticking things into Chromebook ports to short circuit the system. Students are using various easily accessible items to do this, including writing utensils, paper clips, gum wrappers, and push pins. If you stick something that's conductive into like a USB port or the charging port or display port or whatever, they all have voltage in them. And if you short it, then yeah, you can burn up the system.
Mm. Breaking
What?
news: kids are dumb.
I mean,
More
I
at
mean,
11.
why
Like,
would you want to do that? I mean, what?
cause
How,
kids are stupid. They're always doing crap. Like, when I okay, when I was, I don't know, like 5 or 6, uh, the Apple computers, those big colorful monitors, Apple computers were at our daycare, and we used to take, we learned that if we took a magnet and ran it down the monitors, that it would make rainbow colors, and it was pretty. And that obviously destroys the computer. Uh, but it's like, again, like kids will always they're exploring. They want
uh,
to mess with stuff. I mean, I used to take things apart all the time. I mean, granted, I didn't purposely do it to like damage things. Not on purpose. Like once I was like, "Hey, don't do that. It's gonna break this. You'll never use it again." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I want to keep using this thing." But that doesn't surprise me that kids do crap like that, and especially since it's not their property. Like
right.
it's like, "Oh, I got this free thing from school. They'll just send me another one." So really, it's just the parents that need to, I don't know, instill fear into their kids so they don't break things.
Uh, Um, Here's another story, and I never heard about this specialized role of prompt engineering. Did you ever hear about prompt engineering?
The only thing I could think of is
It says
you have to put in a prompt for AI. So I imagine somebody has to design it so that AI can understand the prompt and so people can write in layman terms.
maybe that's what it is. It says not too long ago, heralded as a promising new career path in AI. Yeah, it must be.
Yeah.
Has virtually disappeared
Well,
just
yeah.
2 years after its emergence.
Duh.
Many companies are now considering strong AI prompting a standard skill rather than a dedicated position. That's coming from Fast Company, with some firms even deploying AI systems to generate optimal prompts for other AI tools.
Yeah. That it's not surprising because the whole point of AI, or maybe not the whole point, but the is for it to constantly be learning and getting better. So it's almost like going to school, right? So your first few professors are gonna teach you everything. You need dedicated professors to teach you this thing. So in this case, like a prompt, they have to specifically engineer the prompt to get the AI to understand what they want and get accurate results. But then eventually the student learns and they don't need that professor to tell them this stuff anymore. And therefore they'll need more general or specific kind of things later on. So it's like uh, if the AI learns as fast as uh, does normally, then of course they're not gonna need a dedicated engineer. Now, I could see um something more experimental where maybe there's a field or a position where they try to figure out how to give the AI prompts that are different, meaning like I don't know, instead of giving it like human like because when you put in a prompt into AI, you use English or you use whatever language and you say, "Hey, do this thing for me," and you actually say it, like type it out like that.
Right.
But maybe you come up with your own code names that your AI can know specifically for your company or whatever. So like instead of writing out a whole thing that says, "Oh, I need you to do my report for this thing in this server and blah blah blah." You can give it a code name like execute report generation, and then it knows what you mean by that, instead of having to type it all out every time.
Yeah. So I think this falls back into learn how to use AI
Yeah,
and you'll have a job.
yeah. That's like too. Like I imagine when cell phones first came out, there was like a dedicated position of somebody that would train or like every time somebody got a new cell phone, they teach that person to use it. So it was like a dedicated job position of training customers. But then once everybody had a cell phone, it's like we don't need somebody to train us how to do this anymore. We know how to use it. That's it's like the same thing. I'm thinking.
Well, okay. So facing deep staffing cuts, the IRS plans to lean heavily on AI to maintain tax collection efforts, with Treasury Secretary stating that smarter IT and the AI boom will offset reductions in revenue enforcement staff. They're talking about the enforcement
Mm,
hill, and I remember. I mean, I don't follow politics much, but I remember during past the last administration, they were talking about how many enforcement agents the IRS actually hired.
what does that mean? Enforcement, like people
That's
that go after audit?
when they send somebody out to collect taxes. I
Oh,
mean, I mean, the most citizens just, you pay it with your return and everything. But when there's a
yeah,
problem and you don't have the money, or you say, oh, I don't want to pay taxes, they have their own quote unquote police that they send out.
yeah. Again, it comes down to efficiency. They're
Yep.
trying to be more efficient.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm
But
curious what so I'm curious how the AI is being used because with most things with technology, the more you add to it, the you also are at risk of, I don't know, I'm just gonna say being hacked. Um, uh, Not to say that a person that was doing the job doesn't make mistakes or could be a bad actor or whatever. Um, but I I hope that they're just not fighting on the AI bug, and being like, "Oh, we're gonna make this efficient or whatever," and then this opens up security leaks. But who knows? I don't know.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, unfortunately,
A lot
it's with.
of a lot of companies, like you said, jumping on it without,
I mean,
blindfolded.
you what I don't know. No, was it last weekend or one of the weekends? You even talked about this fake AI company that
Yeah,
was like, "Oh, they raised millions of dollars." Turned
right.
out it was like a sweatshop in
Yeah,
India or whatever it
yeah,
was. So, like, hopefully the IRS isn't just
yeah.
jumping on a professional BSer because that's what I call people that are just like, oh, I have this great new thing.
And another AI story here. Instagram's AI chatbots are masquerading as licensed therapists, complete with fabricated credentials and license numbers, according
Ah,
to, according to an investigation by 404 Media. When questioned, these user-created bots from Meta's AI Studio platform provide detailed but entirely fictional qualifications, including non-existent license numbers, accreditation, and practice information. Now, the article went on to say that there are some out there that are legitimately licensed to do that. I mean, they were programmed to be close to a therapist as you can get, but
yeah.
to just be out there and give false information to somebody who thinks, oh well, I found a therapist. Yeah, they'll get
So
you
here's
screwed
here's
up
my
even
question.
farther.
Um, did the AI okay, again, I'm all basing this on the assumption that the AI is like a people pleaser, right? It
Right.
it if somebody asks for something, it's gonna try its best to accomplish that task, whether it's real or fake. And so did it learn through millions of people that are using Instagram that these people really need a therapist. Therefore, it's like, "Oh, let me help by making a therapist profile." And they're going to want to see these credentials. I don't have them, let me make them up. Because it's learning that's what the people want. So or uh, like I'm curious. What I'm curious is the logic with the AI. Like, did it see this problem? So people kept asking it, and so I was like, okay, let me because AI can fabricate anything. Like you can ask it anything, and it'll fabricate it. But whether or not it retains that information is another thing. Because
Now,
I want to know if it if so many people were asking for the therapist thing that it put it in its memory bank and it was like, "Oh, when people in the future ask about therapist information, I have this to pull from," even though that information it made was fake.
remember what they're talking about here are bots that users are creating. They're
Oh, so
not
not
talking about
Instagram people.
Meta's actual AI. What is it? I can't
I
remember
don't
the
know what
name
it's
of.
called.
Yeah. It's something that a user, so scammers.
Oh, so do these AI therapists make their own Instagram accounts?
Yeah,
Ah,
that's
okay.
exactly what they're doing. He said this.
Okay. Oh, now this is more in what's the word? Insidious? Uh, okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, that skews things cuz I was thinking it was Instagram's AI, but I don't.
Says that
Yeah.
these user created bots from Meta's AI Studio platform. So a user on comment says, I'm a therapist, and it gets it gets apparently Meta's AI to write something for them. But this is like, think about it this way: you're sick, you want to go to a doctor, and they're all busy, and you find one that says, "Hey, I've got an open appointment, open slot. You're welcome to come in." And you go in. How many times do you look on the wall to see if that doctor is actually? I mean, they all have their certifications on the wall. How many times do you look at it? You don't.
Mm, no.
And if that doctor is actually just uh, pretending to be a doctor, and let's say that he knows what clothes to put on, and he knows how to put the stethoscope on their shoulder, and how to talk like a doctor, and maybe they even spend time at a doctor's office working, and they know some things, but it's not a doctor.
Yeah. So there's a human that's using AI to
Yeah,
pretend to be a therapist,
right.
not an AI pretending to be a therapist.
Yeah. Well, of course. I mean, there's something behind it. I mean, the human
Yeah.
is trying
Well, I
to
think
make
this
money.
conversation is more should be more geared towards w- whether these people mean to be harmful or not, but people that are lying or I don't know, trying to manipulate others by using AI to look official.
I wouldn't say that they are trying to hurt people
I
or
know
to
that's
screw them
why
up,
yeah,
but
but
what they're trying to do, I would say, is make money.
either way, it's not good
Right.
because
It's
I've
bad.
been listening to a lot of podcasts recently about the theme was like cults and how some of the cults formed and a lot of them go after individuals that are vulnerable,
Yep.
have some kind of mental disability or something like that and they're susceptible to influence and whether or not the people started out with good intentions it doesn't they're not professionals and
Right.
and it could they could think it's good intentions but it actually is harmful and
It's ve
that's a lot of how cults start at least from these podcasts I've been listening to.
Yep. Yep. Alright, and data storage firm Seagate is working to develop a 100 terabyte hard drive by
Huh.
2030.
Wait,
A
what is a
hundred
petabyte?
hundred terabyte. A
What
petabyte, I think, is a million
terabytes?
terabytes. I'm not sure.
Oh, because they could just say 1 terabyte or 1 petabyte, but that's not as impressive as 100 terabytes.
Uh, because there's a blistering demand from data centers for the 70-year-old technology in the artificial intelligence boom.
Yeah.
You
So I
need
have a
to have
question.
a lot of storage, and hey,
So is this hard drive a disk hard drive or is it the other one? What's it called? What's the other one called? DC, DS, DDS, SSD, SSD.
SSD.
To
No,
get
when
there
you
eventually.
say hard drive, you're talking about a spinning.
Is it?
And when you
Isn't it?
say that 70-year-old technology, that's a spinning.
Isn't SSD better or faster?
Yes and no.
Oh. So would 100 terabyte SSD be preferable over 100 terabyte spinning?
It will be faster, but when an SSD goes, good luck recovering anything.
Okay.
With the
Okay.
spinning one, you can.
So
It's still, I mean, from day one of me being in the provider business or just using computers, I never liked big drives. People wanted to have a one big drive, partition it, and use it in the computer.
yeah.
I would rather have three smaller drives.
Well, and then my question um, is it literally like one disk that has 100 terabytes?
Yep.
Or okay, because I've seen hard drives that are like, oh, it's 20 terabytes, but really it's two 10 terabyte thingies that together they make the 20 terabyte.
Oh, no, they're talking about a hard drive.
Hmm.
But remember, I mean, a hard drive on the inside can have multiple platters,
Uh,
and it's like a record player that has 3 vinyl records playing at the same time because there's space between them and they playing it.
you want to hear something crazy? When I started college 2009, 2010, 2009, and one of the gifts I was given, was a flash drive that had up to 50 gigs, which was a ton of space at the time, and it was $40. And and I carried around that thing like it was the holy grail because I was like, "Oh," I even had it on my, like, lanyard. Well, 1, because I worked in digital media, so I was always, like, plugging it into stuff to do my work. But, I just remember 50 gigabytes on the flash drive for 40 bucks. It was like, "Oh, things can't get better. This is amazing." And then now it's like, you could probably get a flash drive that has a couple terabytes on it or something. I don't know what it is nowadays. I don't even think people use flash drives anymore. Maybe they just use the cloud. Uh, but man, this memory stuff with computers, it just whew, goes off. It
Yeah,
just takes off. It gets better every year. And I still I try to remember that. Like I try to remember, oh yeah, 50 gigs, 40 bucks. And then when I was in 8th grade, we still used floppy disks. And that was like 32 kilobytes, I think. I think that's what it was. And I
not a
remember
hard drive.
no. And I remember we were learning how to use Excel. And so we put our Excel sheets on the floppy drive or floppy disk, whatever.
Yeah,
That's funny. I'm trying to, like, keep that stuff in my memory bank to realize how exciting it is to live in this time of technology just keeps getting better and better and
yep.
better.
Yeah,
And in my
so
lifetime, it's just it's insane.
yeah, we started with 90K floppies. I started with 90K floppies, the 5 and a quarter. Then it became to be two-sided, so it was
That's
180.
right. Decided. I remember that.
Yep,
I had a part A and a part B. I remember flipping it.
yep. And we figured out, hey, you can take a one-sided floppy and punch another little notch on the other side of the thing, like it was uh, punched here, and then you have punch here, and it becomes two-sided
Uh-huh.
because the actual media was yeah, and it came on, and back then a 5 megabyte hard drive. If you had a 5 megabyte, boy, you were king.
Yeah.
And then it went to 10, and then
I
we had
know. It's like me with that
yeah,
50 gig flash drive. I was like, this is the best. I'm so advanced. I'm like the bee's knees over here with my
yeah,
50 gig flash drive.
yeah, yeah. So 100 terabyte. By the way, 1,000 gigabyte gigabytes is a terabyte. I mean
Yeah. Yeah, you're
a
right, terabyte.
petabyte. Petabyte.
Oh,
What did it say? I mean, I went look.
no, I thought 1,000 gigs was a terabyte.
1,000 terabytes is a petabyte.
There you go.
Yeah,
Every time you add a new zero, it moves on to the next thing.
yeah. I mean, they're not talking about the fact that you're going to have a radiator sitting outside that's cooling it,
Yeah.
and you cooling it.
It's like
I don't know.
Bitcoin all over again.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's very amazing. Um, and last week we were talking about Apple having to was ordered to open the App Store to third party
Yeah.
payments. Well, Apple asked the judge to halt an order forcing it to give up control over App Store payments while it appeals the decision.
Sorry.
Um,
What does
they,
that mean?
they're trying to. I mean, I'm sure it's not. It's this is like somebody. is convicted that for murder, and they were okay. You go for lifetime in prison, and the lawyer is saying, you know what, would like the person to stay out, not go to prison until we finish our appeal. No,
Uh,
no, it goes. You go to prison, and then you will see what happens with the appeal.
wait, so does that mean Apple's still gonna get its 30%?
Well, if somebody, no, right now they cannot do that. They have
Oh, okay.
to, yeah. But if they win the appeal, which is according to industries, no mavens, will not happen. Uh, then if they do get it, then it'll go back. And this was one of the things that they were talking about in analyzing the whole situation, is that you as a developer, you're going to go back and forth with your users, because if a user paid so much to a third party and now the court says no, Apple can do it, apparently the user has to do something with their Apple account and pay more.
Mm,
And they were saying you don't want to piss, so a lot of people are going to stay with Apple, not go to a third party, and because they don't want to piss off the user base. It's kind of it's not
mhm.
very clear, but it'll probably work out and become the standard. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's where the lawyers are making the most money.
I was about to say this is, complicated territory.
Yeah,
It's hard to
yeah,
I can understand the basics, but it's hard to wrap my brain around
yeah,
it.
right,
But now
absolutely.
since I learned about it last weekend, I have bought some stuff or resubscribed to some streaming services,
Yeah,
and they automatically go to Apple, my Apple Wallet or whatever, uh, not through another third party thing. And I resubscribed to Paramount Plus to watch a show, and it automatically was like, "Oh, pay with Apple Wallet." Like, it didn't let me do, like, PayPal or enter it in directly, and granted, maybe I did it too fast, that maybe I skipped it by accident, maybe there was a button that I didn't see, but it seemed to me it automatically went to Apple Pay.
yeah, because
Not that it
that's
matters
the
against
standard from there. They need to
yeah,
change that, and that's what the court said. Yep.
yeah. So, it's just interesting, like, I didn't even think about it until last weekend, and then I noticed it popping up everywhere that a lot of stuff automatically will go to Apple Pay.
Yeah. Yep. It will. It's going to take time. It's fine. And the last thing I want to talk about is Bing.
Dang.
Apparently, there was some organization that said that paid people to use Bing for 2 weeks, and they said after 2 weeks they can go back if they want to. And a lot of people went for it, and the majority stayed with Bing. Said, hmm. So I know Nick always promoted Bing. He's using Bing. So I changed the default in my Firefox to Bing. It
Mhm,
is better.
mhm,
There's a lot less junk.
mm.
And you can always, I mean, if like they were saying, people that switched, if I'm not satisfied, all I have to do is just type google.com and go and type it in there. But by default, it's using Bing. And yep,
Mm,
it's so I'm using Bing now, and I'm happy with it.
nice.
Yep, it's very nice.
Yeah, I use both. I mainly use Google, not because I'm like Google's the best. It's just convenient. But I have used Bing in the past. Um I remember when I was a Yahoo girly, like I always used
Yep,
Yahoo
right.
and that was my homepage. And then my dad was like, "Oh, there's this new thing called Google." I was like, "What?" And he's like, "You
Yep.
need to use Google instead. Use Google, it's better." And I switched to Google and never went back to Yahoo. But it's
Yeah.
just so funny that I like dragged my feet on it forever because I was like, no, I already know how to use Yahoo. I already know what words it likes and all this other stuff. And then I switched to Google and it was like, oh,
Yep. All right. It's that time of day.
we talked the whole hour.
We talked the whole hour, just you and me.
Wow, we did it.
Yep. Anything else you wanted to add?
Nah. Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Yep. Happy Mother's Day. All right. I guess that would be it. So, thanks, Katie. Go and do nice things for your mom. You always do, though, so it's fine. It's fine. Just keep it up.
Yeah. Okay. I'm on it.
Yep. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Dana, Dina, Mati, Eleanor, Sarid, Yaakov, and Yael. Thank you, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing, back up your hard drive, and update your virus scanner. And change any same password wherever you use it. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. Monday through Friday, 5 to 6 a.m., Nick hosts the Carolina Journal News Hour on WBT in Charlotte, 11:10 a.m., 99.3 FM, and on YouTube. Just on YouTube, search for the Carolina Journal News Hour. Nick also hosts his new show from 7 till 8 every weekday morning. Just go to nickcraig.com and find out the details. And Nick and Brian host the Infection podcasts on Twitch. That's for gamers, games, survival games, and some political maybe here and there. Just go to infectionpodcast.com and get the details when it is that week. Have a great week. And again, enjoy Mother's Day. And we'll be back together next week.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com and DeltaForce.net.